Hello and welcome back to another lecture. In this lecture we are going to be learning how to apply mates in SolidWorks. So download this assembly file so you can follow along. We are going to use it as an example before we continue mating our check valve assembly. So I'm using this part just to show you the basics of how to apply mates in SolidWorks. Anytime you are applying mates, there are several things you need to keep in mind, and it is very simple. All you need to do is, for example, we are trying to mate this box into this box. All we need to do is make sure that this box is locked along the x-axis, which is left to right, along the y, which is up and down, and z, which is back and forth. That's all you need to keep in mind, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So to mate this box into this blue box, we'll select mate. First, we want to mate the bottom of this green box to the bottom of that blue, and that takes care of the Y. So a standard mate that we can use is the coincident. So we'll click coincident, we'll select this face, and we'll select that face. And as you can see, SolidWorks has added that mate to it. Now, if we try to, let me go into a view you can see. So I'm going to go into that view. If I try to drag it up, you'll see that we can't drag it up. So we have locked it along the y-axis, so we can't drag it up, but it is still moving back and forth and left and right. So that is what I mean. So the next thing we are going to do is lock it along the z-axis. So we'll select our mate again. We'll select that face, and we can select this face. So we select OK and close it. So again, if I go to that view, now we can move it back and forth along the z-axis or up and down. But if I move it this way, I can still move it left and right. So next, all we need to do is select mate. We'll select this face, and we want to mate it to that face. And click OK. Now our part is fully made into that box. And for flat surface, keep in mind, typically you would have to mate it 3 times, lock it along the x-axis, the y, and the z. So for the next example, we want to mate this cylinder into this box. It's the same thing. You need to lock it along the x-axis, y, and z. So we'll select mate, and SolidWorks is smart enough that when you select 2 cylinders, watch what happens when I select this cylinder and I also select that cylinder. SolidWorks will automatically apply the right mate, which is SolidWorks is selecting the concentric. That is what we want for this example, and we will click OK. And we can also flip it with the mate alignment. So we can flip it in that direction, and we'll click OK. So the thing with a circular concentric mate is we have locked it in two directions. We have locked it along the y-axis and the x-axis, but it is still moving in the z. So to lock it in the z, we can select mate. Select, let me cancel out, select mate, select this face, and select that face, and click OK. Now we only need 2 steps to lock it in the x-axis, y-axis, and the z-axis for a cylinder part. But the only thing is, cylinder also requires 3 steps, but the 3rd step is optional, meaning that if you look at the cylinder, it is rotating, And when we get to our valve example, we would see how it is important to add the third one when you are working on some assemblies. So that is the basics of SolidWorks mate, and you have all these different standard mate. So the first one is coincident, the other one is parallel, perpendicular, tangent, and concentric. And you'll be using this standard mates based on the part you are working on and the type of mate you are trying to achieve. So that is the basics of the mate. Remember, you always need to lock it in 3 ways along the X, Y, and Z. So let's move on to the valve body. So let's open our check valve assembly and apply our mate. First, we are going to mate the seat to the body. So let's select mate. We'll select a circular part on the seat. And we also select another circular part on the body. And it is going to automatically select the concentric mate. Select OK. So now, just like we discussed in the previous example, we have locked it into, anytime you add a concentric, you lock it in 2 ways. So in this example, we've locked the X axis and we've locked the Z axis, but we can only move it along the Y. So next, we can section our valve body and click OK. So I'm sectioning it along the front plane and click OK. So now I want to mate this face. So I'll select mate. I want to mate this face to this face and click OK. And we have fully constrained our mate, but the mate is still, our part is still moving, rotating. But that is fine because in real life, this will be able to move. So we only need to lock it along the X, Y, and Z. So it is free to move around and that's fine. So we can unsection it. Next, let's add the discs. So we'll select make, select the circular face on the discs. Select any circular face on the body to add your concentric. Click OK. Again, I'm going to exit out of that so I can select my section and click OK. And I want to mate this face to that face and click OK. And exit out, and I'm going to unsection it. Next, we can add the gasket. So again, mate, select the circular face and the circular face in there, and accept the concentric mate. And next, we can add another mate from this face to that face and accept. Next, we can add the mate for the spring. So to add the mate for the spring, because this isn't really any circular, it's just a spiral. So we can come to the spring sketch, the springs feature, click on the drop down. Under the spring, the sweep one, click the drop down. And we want to expose sketch 1. So we'll right click and show the eye. So I will click on, let's click on this and let's show our temporary axis. So I'm going to show my temporary axis. So now I want to mate this line to the center axis of that valve body. Click OK. And next I want to mate this face on the bottom of that spring to the inside of the disc and click OK. Good. So now we can go back to the eyeball and suppress our temporary axis. Next, we can add a mate from this circular face to that circular face. Select OK. We're going to add mate from this face to that face and click OK. So now for this example, I'm going to select OK again. For this example, it is important that we locate completely. So now we can lock this from spinning because we need the holes for the bonnet to match the holes for the body. So that way we can put our bolts in. So what we can do is select mate. So make sure nothing is selected. So select mate, select the circular bolt for the bonnet and come to the bottom and select the circular bolt for the body to align those holes. And now this bonnet is completely locked and click OK. And last but not the least, we will add our bolt mate. Select the circular face and select the circular hole to align and click OK. Now we can add another mate from this face down to this face and click OK. And that is how you apply mates in SolidWorks. And we can right click on this sketch one and hide that sketch. And we can also minimize this. To edit your mates, you can find all your mates under the mate section right here. Or you can also find the individual mates for each component under the component. So if you click on the drop down for the component, and you should see that component's mate in here. So these are just the two mates we used on that component. So you can right click on them, delete, you can edit it, and also on. So thank you. That is how you apply mates in SolidWorks. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lecture.